Hello friend, today we are going to discuss about ISO 45001 2018. This is the first edition of ISO 45001 and ISO 45001 is Occupational Health and Safety Management System requirement with guidance for use. Before ISO 45001 there was a RoHS that was not a standard, and that standard is used for safety. Now ISO is published first edition of in 2018, that is ISO 45001, that is for OHS, that is Occupational Health and Safety Management System. The first clause is scope, second is normative references, and third is terms and definition, fourth one is context of organization, and fifth is leadership and worker participation, and sixth one is planning, and seventh is support, eighth is operation, and ninth is performance evolution, and class 10th is improvement. We are going to discuss in detail of these classes. Now first is forward of standard. Then ISO is the international organization for standardization, is a worldwide federation of national standard bodies, this is ISO bodies, and the work of preparing international standards is normally carried out through ISO technical committee, and each member body is interested in the subject for which a technical committee has been established has the right to represent on that committee. Now international organization, governmental or non-governmental, relation with ISO also take part in the work. ISO collaborate closely with International Electrotechnical Commission, and this document of ISO 45001 2018 was prepared by project committee, that is ISO PC 283. And what are the input and output in this standard are manual. Input is external and internal issues, that is mentioned in 4.1 class, that is under the context of the organization, that is class number 4, and 4.2, that is needs and expectations of the worker and their interested parties, that is 4.2. And in PDCA, we are looking PDCA, planning comes under the in plan phase, and do supports and operation, and check is performance evaluation, and act is improvement, and leadership and worker participation is all over the PDCA cycle. And output of this PDCA cycle is that is interested customer, means interested outcome of the OHS management system. What are the intended outputs, means what are the intended outputs of OHS management system, that is output of this standard. Now in this document following verbal forms are used, that is shall indicate is a requirement and should indicate a recommendation, may indicate a permission, and can indicate a possibility or a capability. And if note is for the guidance in the understanding or clarification of the associated requirement. Now first class is scope. Actually this document specifies the requirement of occupational and health and safety management system, and give guidance for its use, and to enable organization to provide safe and healthy workplace by preventing work-related injury and ill health. Second, this document is applicable to any organization that wishes to establish, implement and maintain OHS management system to improve occupational health and safety, eliminate hazards, minimize OHS risk, and take advantage of the OHS opportunity, and address OHS management system non-conformity associated with its activities. Now this document is also help an organization to achieve intended outcome of OHS management system, and consistent with the organization OHS policy and OHS management system outcomes, intended outcome, that is included continual improvement, fulfillment of legal and other requirement, and achievement of OHS objective. This document applicable to any organization regardless of its size, type and activity. and this document does not state specific criteria for RoHS performance, not is prescriptive about the design of RoHS management system. This document enables an organization through its RoHS management system to integrate other aspects of health and safety such as worker wellness and well-being. And this document does not address issues such as product safety, property damage, environment impact, beyond the risk and worker and other relevant interested parties. This document can be used in whole or in part of systematically improve occupational health and safety management system. And this is the class number 2, that is normative references. There are no normative references in this document. And class number 3 is terms and definitions. For the purpose of this document, the following terms and definitions apply. ISO IEC maintain the terminology databases for users in standardization and following. First site is ISO online browsing platform that available at https://www.iso.org.obg and IEC Electropedia available at https://www.electropedia.org/. First terms is organization. Organization is actually person or group of people that has its own function with responsibility, authority and relationship to achieve its objective. That is organization. Second is note related to organization. Concept of organization included but not limited to sole trader, company, corporation, firm, enterprises, authority, partnership, charity, institution, or part or combination, whether incorporated or not, public or private. These are. Next is interested party. Interested party actually is a preferred term. Before that, we are using the terms stakeholder, that is admitted term. Now, what is interested party? What are these term definitions? Person or organization that can be affected by or perceive itself to be affected by a decision or activity. That is interested party. Now, next term is worker. Person performing work or work related activity that under the control of organization, that is worker. Person perform work or work related activity under various arrangements, that is paid or unpaid, and such as regularly or temporarily, intermittently or seasonally, casually or part-time basis. Next is worker include top management, manager and non-managerial person also. This worker is including top management, manager and non-manager. All persons come under the terms of worker. The work or work related activity performed under the control of organization may be performed by worker employed by the organization, worker or external provider, or contractors, individuals, agency workers or other person to the extent to the organization share control over their work or work related activity according to the context of the organization. Next is participation. Participation is actually involvement in decision making. Like first note is participation include engaging health, safety committee and worker representatives where they exist. And next is consultation. Consultation is seeking view before making a decision. This consultation actually include engaging health and safety committee and worker representative where they exist. Next is workplace. Place under the control of organization where a person need to be or go for work purpose, that is workplace. Contractor, external organization providing services to the organization in accordance with agreed specification, terms and conditions, that is contractor. Next is requirement. Requirement is need or expectations that is stated, generally implied or obligatory. Next is legal requirement and other requirement. Legal requirement actually that an organization had to comply with, and other requirement that an organization has to or chooses to comply. Means legal requirement has to comply with, and other requirement that has or chosen to comply with. First notice, for the purpose of this document, legal requirement and other requirement are those relevant to the OHS management system. Second is legal requirement and other requirements include the provision in collective agreement. Third is legal requirement and other requirement include those that determine the person who are workers or worker representative in accordance with the law, regulation, collective agreement and practices. Next is management system. Set of interrelated or interacting element of an organization to establish policy, objective and process and to achieve those objectives is known as management system. Management system can address single discipline or several discipline or multiple disciplines. Next is the scope of management system may include the whole of organization, specific identified function of the organization, specific identified section of the organization, one or more persons across the group of organizations. Next is occupational health and safety management system, means OHS management system. Management system are a part of management system used to achieve the OHS policy. Next is top management system. Person or group of people who direct and control the organization at highest level. That is top management. Effectiveness. Extent to which planned activity are realized and planned result achieved is effectiveness. Next is policy. Intention and direction of organization has formally expressed by its top management. Occupational health and safety policy, which is policy to prevent work-related injury and ill health to worker and to provide safe and healthy workplaces, that is OHS policy. Objective, result to be achieved, that is objective. Objective actually can be strategic, tactical or operational. Objective actually can be related to different disciplines such as financial, health, safety, environmental, and can be applied different level, that is strategic. And next is project, product, process related, organization wide, like that. Now next is occupational health and safety objective, that is OHS objective. Objective set by organization to achieve a specific result consist with the OHS policy. Next is the injury and ill health. Adverse effect on the physical, mental and cognitive condition of a person is known as injury and ill health. Hazard, source with a potential to cause an injury and ill health, that is hazard. Hazards can include sources with the potential to cause or hazardous situation, circumstances with a potential for exposure leading to injury and ill health. Now next is risk. Actually risk is effect of uncertainty. It can be positive and negative. Positive effect is a positive improvement, and negative effect is is adverse effect of risk is negative, and positive is beneficial. Uncertainty is the state, even partial or deficiency of information related to understanding or knowledge of an event, its consequences or likelihood. A risk is often characterized by the reference potential event that is defined in other ISO guide documents. And next is the risk is often expressed in terms of combination of consequences of an event and the associated likelihood. Now next is which is risk. Combination of likelihood of occurrence of work-related hazardous event or exposure and the severity of injury and ill health that can be expressed by event or explosion. Next is OHS opportunity. Actually, circumstances are set of circumstances that can lead to improvement of OHS performance, that is OHS opportunity. Next is competence, ability to apply knowledge and skill both to achieve intended result, that is competence. Next is documented information. Information required to be controlled and maintained by the organization. Information required to be controlled and maintained by organization and the medium on which is content. Process, set of interrelated or interacting activity which transform input into output is process. Procedure, a specified way to carry out an activity or a process is a procedure. Next is performance. Performance is actually measurable results. Performance can be either to quantitative or qualitative findings. Result can be determined, evaluated by qualitative and quantitative methods. Performance actually can be related to management of activity, processes, product, system or organizations. Now next is the occupational health and safety performance, the OHS performance. Performance related to effectiveness of prevention of injury and ill health and to worker and provision of safe and healthy workplaces. Next is outsource, that make an arrangement where an external organization perform part of organization's function or process. A part of organization function or process performed by an external organization, that is outsourced. Monitoring, determining the status of a system, a process or an activity, that is monitoring. Measurement, actually measurement is process to determine a value. Audit, what is audit? Actually audit is systematic, independent and documented process for obtaining audit evidences and evaluating it objectively to determine to extent to which audit criteria are fulfilled. Means systematic, independent, document process for obtaining audit evidences and evaluating it objectively to determine the extent to which the audit criteria are fulfilled. Main aim of audit is audit evidences, obtaining audit evidences and fulfill the audit criteria. Now, an audit can be internal audit, first party and second party, that is external audits or third party audits, and it can be combined audit combining of two or more discipline also. An internal audit is conducted by organization itself or by external party on behalf of. And audit evidences, audit criteria are defined in ISO 19011. Already we have made a large video of ISO 19011, that 2018, that is have 7 clauses. Already explained it. That link we will provide it in the descriptions. Now next is the conformity. Conformity is actually fulfillment of a requirement. Non-conformity, non-fulfillment of a requirement. Now next is incident. Occurrence arising out of or in the course of work that could or does result in injury or ill health, that is incident. Means occurrence arising out of or in the course of work that could or can result in injury and ill health, that is the incident. Incident where injury and ill health occur, sometimes referred as accident, and an incident where no injury and no ill health occurs but has the potential to do so may refer as near miss or near hit or close call. Next is the corrective action. Action to eliminate the causes of a non-conformity and or an incident and to prevent recurrence. Recurrence means action to eliminate the causes of non-conformity, that first, and second is or an incident and to prevent recurrence. Next is continual improvement, recurring activity to enhance performance, that is continual improvement. Next is context of the organization. Class number 4 is context of the organization. Now, in context of the organization, there is sub-clauses, that is 4.1, that is understanding the organization and its context. The organizations determine external and internal issues and relevant to its purpose that can affect itself, its ability to achieve the intended outcome of its OHS management system. Means understanding the organization and its context, that is the what are the internal issues and what are the external issues related to OHS management system. If issues are the positive, they are become if external issues is positive, that is a positive for improvement, and if internal issues are positive, that is strength. If issues are negative, that is weakness, and external issues are negative, that become the threats. We need to work on that. We need to work on weakness, we need to work on threats, and we need to maintain a opportunity for improvement registers, and we need to maintain all the required documents of it. Now next is understanding the needs and expectations of worker and other interested party. For this, organizations shall determine the other interested parties in addition to worker that are relevant to OHS management system, and the organization shall relevant needs and expectations of worker and other interested party, and which of these needs and expectations could become legal requirement and other requirement. Now next subclass is, that is 4.3, that is determining the scope of OHS management system. Now the organization shall determine the boundaries. Scope means boundaries and applicability of OHS management system. That include, when determining this scope, the organization shall consider the external and internal issues and taking account with 4.2 requirements and 4.3 requirements also, and taking into account the planned and performed work related activities. The OHS management system shall include activity, products and services with the organization control or influences that can impact the organization OHS performance. Next is the scope shall be available as documented information. Now next subclass is, that is 4.4, is OHS management system. OHS management system. Now in this, the organization shall establish, implement, maintain, continuously improve an OHS management system, included the processes needed to their interactions. In OHS management system, we need to prepare manual procedures, turtle diagrams and their interactions, means process instructions with the requirement of this document. Now class number 5, that is leadership and worker participation. In leadership and worker participation, there is a subclass, that is 5.1, that is leadership and commitment. Now for leadership and commitment, top management shall demonstrate leadership and commitment with respect to the OHS management system, by which first is taking overall responsibility and accountability for the prevention of work related injury and ill health, as well as the provision of the safe and healthy workplaces and activities. Second is by ensuring the OHS policy and related OHS objectives. And third one is by ensuring the integration of OHS management system and requirement into the organization business processes. And next is by ensuring that the resources needed to establish, implement, maintain and improve OHS management system. Next is communicating the importance of effective OHS management and conforming to OHS management system requirement. Now next is ensuring that the OHS management system achieves its intended outcome. Next is directing and supporting person to contribute to the effectiveness of the OHS management system. Next is ensuring and promoting continual improvement. Next is supporting other relevant management roles to demonstrate their leadership as it applies to their area of responsibility. And next is developing, leading and promoting a culture in the organization that support the intended outcome of OHS management system. And next is protecting worker from reprisals when reporting incident, hazard, risk and opportunities. Now next is ensuring the organization establishes and implement a process for consultation and participation of worker. Next is supporting the establishment and functioning of health and safety committees. Now next clause is 5.2, that is OHS policy. Top management shall establish, implement and maintain OHS policy that includes a commitment to provide safe and healthy working condition for prevention of work related injury and ill health. And second is provide a framework of setting the OHS objectives. And that includes a commitment to fulfill legal requirement and other requirement. And next is include a commitment to eliminate hazardous and reduce OHS risk. Next is OHS policy include a commitment to continual improvement of OHS management system. And OHS policy include a commitment to consultation and participation of worker and worker representative where they exist. Next is OHS policy that be available and documented and be communicated within the organization and be available to interested party as appropriate. And next is be relevant and appropriate. Now next subclass is that is 5.3, that is organization rules, responsibility and authority. Our top management that shall ensure that the responsibility and authority for relevant roles within the OHS management system that are assigned and communicated at all level within the organization and maintained as a documented information. Workers at each level of the organization that include top management, manager, non-manager shall assume responsibility for those aspects of the management system over where they controls. Top management shall assign the responsibility and authority for first is ensuring the OHS management system conform to the requirement of this document. Second is reporting on the performance of OHS management system to top management. Next is 5.4, that is another subclass of the class number 5th, that is consultation and participation of worker. For this, organization shall establish, implement, maintain a process for consultation and participation of worker at all applicable levels and functions and where they exist. Worker are worker representatives in the development, planning, implementation and performance evolution and action for improvement of OHS management system. For this, organization shall provide mechanism, time, training, resources needed for consultation and participation. Next is provide timely access to clear understandable and relevant information about OHS management system. Next is determine and remove obstacle or barrier to participation and minimize those that can be removed. Next is emphasize the consultation of non-manager worker on the following terms like determining the needs and expectations of interested parties, stabilizing OHS policies, determining organizational role, responsibility and authority, determining how to fulfill legal requirements and other requirements, and stabilizing OHS objectives, determining applicable control for outsourcing, determining what needs to be monitored, measurement, planning, establish, implementation, maintaining audit programs, ensuring continual improvement like that. Now next is emphasizing the participation of non-managerial worker in the following, that is again 1 to 9. Next is class number 6, that is planning. In planning there is a subclass that is action to address risk and opportunity, that is class number 6.1. There is another general requirement given related to action to address risk and opportunity in 611. That is, when planning for OHS management system, organization shall consider the issues from 4.1 and needs and expectations from 4.2, and next is the scope of OHS management system, that is 4.3, to address, to give the assurance that OHS management system can be achieved its intended outcome and prevent or reduce undesirable effect and achieve continual improvement. Now, when determining the risk and opportunity of OHS management system, its intended outcome that need to address, the organization shall take into account hazard and OHS risk and other risks, OHS opportunities and other opportunities, legal requirement and other requirements. The organization in its planning process shall determine, assess the risk and opportunity that are relevant to the intended outcome of OHS management system associated with the changes in the organization, its processes or OHS management system. In case of plan changes, permanent or temporary, this assessment shall be undertaken before the changes is implemented. Now, next, the organization shall maintain a documented information on risk and opportunity and the processes and action needed to determining addressing of risk and opportunity, to extent necessary to have confidence that they are carried out as we planned. Next subclasses, that is 6.1.2, that is hazard identification and assessment of risk and opportunity. That there is subclasses in hazard identification and assessment of risk and opportunity, that is 6.1.2.1, that is hazard identification. Now, first is hazard identification. The organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process for hazard identification that is ongoing or proactive. The process shall into the account but not limited to how work is organized, social factors like workload, work hours, victimizations, harassment, bullying and leadership and culture in the organization. Next, routine and non-routine activities, situation including hazards like infrastructure, equipment, materials, substances, physical condition of workplace, product and service design. And next is the infrastructures and human factors and how work is performed, like this. Now, next, hazard identification is past relevant incident, internal and external organization including emergencies and their cases. Next is from potential emergency situation like people, including consideration of the those with the access to workplaces, their activities including worker, contractor, visitor and other persons, those in vicinity of the workplaces who can be affected by the activity of the organizations. And next is other issues including consideration of design of work areas, process, installation, machine equipment, operation, procedure, work organization, their adaptation of needs and capability of the worker, situation occurring in the vicinity of workplace by work related activity under control of organizations, situation not controlled by the organization occurring in the vicinity of workplace that can cause injury and ill health. Next is actual or proposed changes in the organizations. And next is hazard generation by changing in knowledge and information about hazards. Now, next subclass is that is 6.1.2.2, that is assessment of OHS risk and other risk to OHS management system. Now, organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process to assess OHS risk from identified hazard and determine the assess and other risk related to the establishment, implement, operation and maintenance of OHS management system. For this, the organization methodology and criteria for assessment of OHS risk shall be determined with respect to their scope, nature and timing to ensure they are proactive rather than reactive and uses in systematic way. Documented information shall be maintained and retained on the methodology and criteria also. Now, next subclass is 6.1.2.3, that is assessment of OHS opportunity and other opportunity for OHS management system. For this, organization shall establish, implement, maintain processes to assess OHS opportunity to enhance OHS performance while taking into account plant changes to the organization, its policy, its process, its activity. And next is by opportunity for improving OHS management system. Now next subclass is that is 613, that is determination of legal requirement and other requirement. For this, organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process to determine and have access to up-to-date legal requirement and other requirement that are applicable to its hazard, OHS risk and OHS management system. Next is determine how these legal requirement and other requirements apply to the organization and what need to be communicated. And next is take these legal requirement and other requirement into account when establishing, implementing, maintaining and continually providing its OHS management system. The organization shall maintain and retain documented information on legal requirement and other requirements shall ensure that it is updated to reflect any changes. Legal requirement and other requirement can result in risk and opportunity for the organization. Now next subclass is that is 614, that is planning actions. The organization shall plan action to address risk and opportunity and action to address legal and requirement and action to prepare and respond to emergency situation and how to integrate, implement the action into OHS management system, processes and business processes and how to evaluate the effectiveness of these actions. Now next is the OHS objective and planning to achieve them, that is 6.2, and their sub requirement are given in 621, that is OHS objective. For this, the organization shall establish OHS objective at relevant function and level in order to maintain and continually improve the OHS management system and OHS performance. For this OHS objective, organization shall be consistent with the OHS policy, be measurable, and OHS policy objective take into the accounts. Be monitors, be communicated and be OHS objective be updated as appropriate. Now next is subclasses, that is 622, that is planning to achieve OHS objective. For this, when planning how to achieve its objective, OHS objectives, the organization shall determine what will be done, what resources will be required, who will be responsible, when it will complete and how the result will be evaluated, including indicator for monitoring, and how the action to achieve OHS objective will be integrated into organization business processes. For this, organization shall maintain and retain documented information on OHS objective and plans to achieve them. Now next class is that is supports. In class number 7, supports, there is a subclass that is 7.1, that is resources. For the resources, the organization shall determine and provide the resources needed for the establishment, maintenance and continual improvement of the OHS management system. Now next subclass is that is 7.2, that is competence. For this, the organization shall determine the necessary competence of workers that affect or can be affected with OHS performance and ensure that workers are competent, including their ability to identify hazards on the basis of appropriate education and training or experience. Next, where applicable, take action to acquire and maintain the necessary competence and evaluate the effectiveness of action taken. Next, retain appropriate documented information as evidence of competence. Next subclass is that is awareness. Now, awareness, workers shall be made aware of OHS policy and OHS objective, their contribution to effectiveness of OHS management system, and the implications and potential consequences of not confirming the OHS management system requirement, incidents, and the outcome of investigations that are relevant to them. Now next is hazard, OHS risk and action determining that are relevant to them, and the ability to remove themselves from work situation that they consider prevent an imminent and serious danger to their life or health, as well as arrangement for protecting from undue consequences for doing so. Now next subclass is that is communications. Their sub requirement is given that in 741, that is general requirement of communication, that is organization shall establish, implement and maintain the process needed for internal and external communication relevant to the OHS management system that requires on what it will be communication, when to communicate, when with whom to communicate and with whom to communicate and how to communicate. Now, next, when stabilizing its communication processes, the organization shall take into account its legal requirement and other requirement and ensure that OHS information should be communicated consistently. And the organization shall retain a documented information and evidence of its communication as appropriate. Now, next sub requirement is that is internal communication, that given in 7.4.2, that the organization shall internally communicate information related to OHS management system among the various level and function of the organization and including changes to the OHS management system as appropriate. Next is ensure its communication process enable worker to contribute the communication continual improvement. Next is subclasses, that is 743, that is external communication. For this, organization shall externally communicate information relevant to OHS management system as stabilized by the organization communication process and taking into account its legal and other requirements are fulfilled. Now, next subclasses, that is 7.5, that is documented information. That's general requirement given in 751, that of documented information. The organization OHS management system shall include documented information required by this document and the documented information determined by the organization as being necessary for the effective of OHS management system. And for this, note is given in a standard. The extent of documented information for OHS management system can differ from one organization to another organization due to the size of organization, activity, process, product, and their needs to demonstrate the fulfillment of legal other requirement, complexity of the process, and competence of worker also. Next subclass is that is 7.5.2, that is creating and updating of documented information. When creating and updating documented information, the organization shall ensure appropriate identification and descriptions like title, date, author or reference number, and also organization shall ensure appropriate format, that in language, software, version and graphics, media, paper and electronics all. And organization shall ensure review and approval of suitability and adequacy of these documented information. Now, next subclass is that is 7.5.3, that control of documented information. For this documented information required by OHS management system, by this document shall be controlled to ensure it is available and suitable for use, where and when it is needed, and it is adequately protected from loss of confidentiality, improper use or loss of integrity. Now, next is for the control of documented information, the organization shall address the following activity. First is distribution, access, retrieval and usage. Second is storage and prevention, including preservation of legibility, control of changes, that is version control, and retention and dispositions. Documented information of external origin determined by the organization to be necessary for the planning and operation of OHS management system shall be identified as appropriate and controlled. Now, next class is that is operation. Their sub requirement is given in 8.1. 8.1 is operational planning and control. Their sub requirement given in 8.11, that is general requirement of operational planning and control. For this, the organization shall plan, implement, control and maintain the process needed to meet the requirement of OHS management system and to improve the action determined by class number 6 and by stabilizing criteria for the process. Implementing control of the process in accordance with the criteria and maintaining and retaining documented information to extent necessary to have confidence that process have been carried out as planned. And next is adapting works to works. Now, next subclass is that is eliminating hazards and reducing OHS risk. This is very important subclass. The organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process for the eliminating of hazard and reduction of the OHS risk by following hierarchy of controls. First is we need to first eliminate the hazards. Second, we need to substitute with less hazardous process, operation, material or equipment. And third, we need to in hierarchy of control we need to use engineering control or reorganization of worker. And fourth one is use administrative control including trainings. And fifth is use adequate personal protective equipment, that is PPEs. In many countries, legal requirement and other requirement include the requirement of that personal protective equipment is provided at no cost to worker in some countries. Next subclass is that is 813, that is management of changes. The organization shall establish a process for the implementing and control of planned, temporary and permanent changes that impact OHS management system. That includes new products, service or process or changes or to existing product, service or process, and include workplace location, surrounding, worker organizations, working conditions and equipments, workforce, and changes to legal requirement, other requirement, changes in knowledge or information about hazard and OHS risk, and development in the knowledge and technology. For this, the organization shall review consequences of unintended changes, taking action to mitigate any adverse effect as necessary. And changes can result in risk and opportunity. Now, next subclass is that is procurement, that is 8.1.4. Their general requirement given in 8.1.4.1. Organizations shall establish, implement and maintain a process to control the procurement of product and services in order to ensure their conformity to OHS management system. Now, next subclass is that is 8.1.4.2, that is contractor. For this, organization shall coordinate its procurement process with its contractor in order to identify hazard and to assess and control the OHS risk arising from the contractor activities, operation that impact the organization, and the organization activity and operation that impact the contractor workers, and contractor activities and operation that impact other interested party in the workplace. For this, organization shall ensure that the requirement of OHS management system are met by the contractor and their workers. The organization procurement process shall define and apply occupational health and safety criteria for the selection of contractor. Now, next subclass is that is 8.1.4.3, that is outsourcing. The organization shall ensure that outsourced functions and processes are controlled. The organization shall ensure that its outsourcing arrangements are consistent with the legal requirement and other requirement with the achieving the intended outcome of the OHS management system. The type and the degree of to control by these functions and processes shall be defined within the OHS management system. Now, next is 8.2, that is emergency preparedness and responses. These are very important clause in the ISO 45001. Emergency preparedness and responses. The organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process needed to prepare for the response to the potential emergencies as identified in 61221. Included establishment a planned response to emergency situation, including a provision of first aid and providing training for the planned responses, and periodically testing and exercising the planned emergency. In emergency preparedness and responses, we need to prepare the following things. First is stabilizing a planned response to emergency situation, that including provision of first aid, and second is providing training for the planned responses, and third is periodically testing and exercising the planned response capabilities, and fourth one is evaluating the performance as necessary and revising the planned response, including after testing in a particular after the occurrence of emergency situation. Now, next is communicating and providing relevant information to all workers and their duty and responsibility, And next is communicating relevant information to contractor, visitor, emergency response service, government authorities as appropriate, the local communities. Next is taking into account the needs and capabilities of all interested parties and ensuring their involvement as appropriate in the development of plan response. For this, organization shall maintain a routine documented information on process and on the plan for responding to potential emergency situations. Now, next class is class number 9, that is performance evaluations. Performance evaluations. Now, in performance evaluations, there is sub requirement that given in 9.1, that is monitoring, measurement, analysis and performance evaluations. And there is sub requirement given in 9.11, that is general requirement of monitoring, measurement, analysis and performance evaluations. For this, organization shall establish, implement and maintain a processes for monitoring, measurement, analysis and performance evaluation. For this, organization shall determine what need to be monitored and measured. And next is the method for monitoring, measurement, analysis and performance evaluations as applicable to ensure valid results. And next is the criteria against which the organization will evaluate its OHS performance. And next is when the monitoring measurement shall be performed and when the result from monitoring measurement shall be analyzed, evaluated and communicated. For this, the organization shall evaluate the OHS performance and determine the effectiveness of OHS management system. For this, the organization shall ensure monitoring measurement equipment is calibrated, are verified as applicable and in use and maintained as appropriate. For this, there is a note given. There can be legal requirement or other requirement, national or international standard, concerning the calibration or verification of monitoring and measuring equipment. For this, organization shall retain appropriate documented information as evidence of result of monitoring, measurement, analysis and performance evaluations, as well as on maintenance, calibration or verification of measuring equipment. That's we need two types of documented information. First is for maintenance, calibration or verification of measuring equipment. Second is for results of monitoring, measurement, analysis and performance evaluation. Now, next subclass is that is 912, that is evaluation of compliances. Now, compliances need to evaluate. Means for this, the organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process for evaluating compliance with legal requirement and other requirement. For this, organization shall determine the frequency and method for evaluation of compliances and evaluate compliances and take action if needed. Maintain knowledge and understanding of its compliance and status with legal and other requirements, and retain a documented information of compliance obligation results. Next class is that is 9.2, that is internal audit. There is general requirement given in 921, that is internal audit general requirement. For this, the organization shall conduct internal audit as planned interval to provide information on whether the OHS management system conform to organization own requirement of OHS management system, included OHS policy objective and requirement of this document, this manual. Second is effectively OHS management system is effectively implemented and maintained. Next subclass is internal audit program. For this, organization shall plan, establish, implement and maintain an audit program including the frequency, method, responsibility, consultation and considering the importance of process concerning and results of previous audits. For this, define the audit criteria and scope of each audit and select auditors and conduct audits to ensure objective and impartiality of the audit process and ensure that the result of audit are reported to the relevant manager and take action to address non-conformity and continual improvements of its OHS management performance and retain documented information as evidence of implementation of audit program and audit results. For more information of auditing management system, we need to refer the ISO 19011-2018 manual. Already we have made a video, large video of ISO 19011-2018. We need to see that video. Now, next subclass is that is 9.3, that is management review. For this, top management shall review the organization OHS management system at a planned interval to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness. For this, management review shall include the consideration of the status of action from previous management review. Next is changes in internal and external issues relevant to OHS management system, and next is the extent to which OHS policy and objective have been met, and next is information on OHS management performance that includes incident, non-conformity, corrective action, continuous improvement, monitoring and measurement results, result of evaluation of compliances with legal requirement, other requirement, audit results, consultation and participation of worker, risk and opportunity. These informations of OHS management system and their performance. Next is adequacy of resources for maintaining an effective OHS management system. Next is relevant communication with interested party and opportunity for continual improvement. There are some output of management review that includes the continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of OHS management system in achieving its intended outcomes, continual improvements of opportunities, any need for changes of OHS management system, resources needed, action required if opportunity to improve integration of OHS management system with other business process, and any implications for the strategic direction of the business. For this, organization shall communicate all the relevant outputs of the management review to worker or worker representatives. For this, organization shall retain a documented information as evidence of the results of management review. Now, next class is class number 10. There is general requirement given in 10.1, that is improvement. Means the organization shall determine the opportunity for improvement as described in class number 9 and implement necessary action to achieve the intended outcome of OHS management system. Next subclass is that is 10.2, that is incident, non-conformity and corrective action. For this, organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process including reporting, investing and taking action to determine the manage incident and non-conformity. When an incident or non-conformity occurs, the organization shall react in a timely manner to incident or non-conformity as applicable. For this, take action to control and correct it, deal with consequences and evaluate with the participation of worker and involvement of other relevant interested party the needs for corrective action to eliminate the root causes of incident or non-conformity in order that these does not reoccur or occur elsewhere. And next is the review existing assessment of OHS risk and other risk as appropriate and determining and implement any action needed including corrective action and assess OHS risk that relate to new or change hazard or prior to action taken. Next is review the effectiveness of any action taken including corrective actions and make changes to OHS performance system if necessary. Corrective actions shall be appropriate to the effect or potential effect of incident or non-conformity encountered. For this, the organization shall retain a documented information on as evidence of the nature and incident or non-conformity and any subsequent action taken and the result of any action and corrective action included their effectiveness. For this, organization shall communicate this documented information to relevant workers and worker representatives or other relevant interested parties. Now, next subclass is that is continual improvement. For this, the organization shall continually improve the suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the OHS management system by enhancing OHS performance, promoting culture that supports OHS management system and promoting the participation of worker in implementing action for continuous improvement of OHS management system. Next is communicating the relevant result of continual improvements to workers or worker representatives. And next is maintaining and retaining documented information as evidence of continual improvement. These are the terms related to continual improvement. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching.